Skull Rock Podcast is brought to you by the generosity of the following companies. The Old Mill Press, publishing beautifully crafted books that illuminate our world. To learn more, visit theoldmillpress.com. And by listeners like you.
Hi, I'm Imagineer Tom Morris, and you're listening to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Aye, mateys, remember this as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock Podcast. Proceed at your own risk, and mark well me words, mateys. Dead men tell no tale.
Welcome to Skull Rock Podcast, the show about all things Disney and pop culture. Every week, we take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite Disney films, theme park attractions, performances, books, music, as well as what's streaming, what's playing in theaters, and what's up with this universe of entertainment. I'm Aljon Go, musician and longtime Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and pop culturist. And you can email me, Aljon, A-L-J-O-N, at skullrockpodcast.com.
And I'm Dave Bossert, artist, filmmaker, author, and welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. If you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on our very own Skull Rock YouTube channel. You can also email me at dave@skullrockpodcast.com. Aljon, how are you this week? We're back with another great show.
I love it. I'm doing well. And once again, spring is almost summertime here. It might as well be summertime because Nashville, I swear, it gets like 1 week of springtime weather and then it's bam, hot, hot, hot and humid. And I don't know if I know kind of what it's like over there in the Los Angeles area, over there in California. I mean, you guys pretty much are the same thing, right? I mean, you're probably
we typically go from winter to summer, right? There is no sort of gradual ease into it. Although I have to say this year, it's been a little bit cooler. We had about a week of warm weather, but it's been a little cooler. It rained out over the weekend. Yeah. So, it's the weather's been crazy all over the place.
Yeah, it's nuts. Well, I'm looking forward, hopefully, to coming out to the West Coast at some point. I can't wait to come out there and actually hang out with you because you came over here to hang out with us. Now I want to come over there and hang out with you in much cooler weather, less humid.
Yes, and that's the one thing I'll say about Los Angeles and Southern California is we have less humidity than other parts of the country. That's for sure, which nice. I generally prefer less humidity.
Yeah. Well, who's on tap today? We have part 2.
Of Roger Chiasson. Roger, who is a terrific, really a master animator and part of the Canadian contingent.
Yes.
So we have part 2 of our interview with him. He is a veteran of the animation business, not just in Canada and the United States, but globally. He's worked all over the world. So there's a lot of great conversation with Roger coming up. So I'm looking forward to that.
Before we break into the rest of the listener emails, etc., I wanted to ask you, you had a live stream this past week. We talked about it on last week's show, but how'd it go?
It went very well. I was real pleased with it. We did an hour Facebook Live. I do these with Neil Cantor, who's with the Wonderful World of Animation out of Las Vegas. And it was terrific. Nice. We talked about and celebrated the 70th anniversary of Lady and the Tramp, which is coming up later this year. And also, we did a little early. I think the official anniversary is in June, and we wanted to get ahead of the curve. Next month in May, we're going to do a live stream on Facebook celebrating the 70th anniversary of Kermit the Frog and the Muppets.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm such a
so
big fan.
we always have fun with those. We give stuff away, and it's just a lot of participation with people all over the country.
Well, I know that if you follow Dave on Facebook, you'll be able to see the link. I know you posted it in the Skull Rock Facebook group as well.
Yeah.
So just go over there and check it out. Those live streams are a lot of fun. I usually check them out after the fact, but I just wanted to draw more attention to it because, you know, it's great stuff. And, you know, you love Dave. You're on this show. You subscribe to this feed. You definitely want to check out the live streams with Cantor and the rest of the team over there. It's good stuff. And, I will say this too. I saw this photo of you. I'm bringing up a lot of stuff with you because I'm living vicariously through your Instagram.
Okay.
Of the puppet you had.
And by the way, folks, this is not rehearsed. He's sandbagging me here.
Yeah, no, that's good because you know we talk about Arnie Livabit's Puppetoons, and you did the screening during what before Easter, so you had
no, it was on Easter.
Oh, it was on
he
Easter.
He had a screening at the Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills on Easter Sunday.
Yes. So that was good stuff. But then, did you go back and get the maquettes? What was that picture all about?
Oh, so I posted on my Facebook page some pictures on last Monday. I had the pleasure of being with Arnie as he interviewed Floyd Norman and Bob Kurtz, who are both of whom have been on the Skull Rock podcast, and both of whom are, you know, just animation legends.
Yeah.
And it was part of a larger Puppetoons project that's going on. And so I was there for that, and Arnie brought some of the original Puppetoon figures that were used in production, along with two larger ones that were used for presentation purposes.
That's amazing. Well, how cool is that? You have the Disney Legends, you have Arnie there, you have the Puppetoons, figures there. That looked really, really cool. I mean, you're touching history, Dave, right there.
Well, you know, it's more about, you know, being part of documenting the history.
Yeah.
You know, and making sure that these interviews are being captured on film. And when I say film, I'm using that as a euphemism for, you know, digital. Everything was shot digitally, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
But, you know, I still refer to it as a film shoot.
Well, sure. We always like,
I guess maybe I'm dating myself.
No, it's like, did you watch the latest Black Mirror episode? Yeah, I taped it. Like, what? You don't tape it. It's on DVR or whatever. It tapes things. I mean, that's how we record it.
But yeah, you know, it was really fun. And you know, it was so great to see the Puppetoons movie up on a big screen, you know, in a theater, which was fantastic. And you know, I think these things, when they come along, people should jump at the opportunity to try and see these films on big screens, because they were made for the big screen.
I love it. I love it so much. And that's, I can't wait to, you know, to promote the next thing that they're doing, because once again, it's just opening it up to a whole new generation of film fans and stop motion animation fans out there. And of course, the chronicling of all of these wonderful stories, the oral history that we do on this podcast, and the stuff that you're always involved in to make sure you keep the history alive. And I love that so much. You know,
yes, you do want to sort of keep some of this alive, but it's not about living in the past for me. It's really about capturing this stuff so that it's available for the future.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, a lot of these Disney, you know, Bob Kurtz just turned 91.
Amazing, right?
You know, I mean, when you look at the picture of him that I posted on Facebook, he doesn't look 91.
No.
You know, I mean, you know, he's a vibrant individual, sharp as a tack, and had some fantastic stories to tell, including meeting George Pal.
Sure.
You know, back, I think I think he said in the 70s.
That's amazing.
But, you know, look, it's fun doing this stuff, and it really is about making sure a lot of this stuff gets captured for future generations to be able to enjoy.
Well, I love the fact that we're doing this show, and the guests are tremendous. Even Floyd Norman has been on the show. Just tremendous individual, and just honored to be part of capturing this stuff for future generations. So it's very cool stuff.
And you know, I think our listeners should know, Aljon, that not only have we been, you know, getting all these great guests, but you know, we have interviews banked right now that go out to September.
It's amazing.
Which is just crazy, because you know, when we first started this nearly 5 years ago, I was concerned. I thought to myself, I don't know if we can continue to do a weekly show. Maybe we should only do 10 or 15 episodes a year, you know, or like some podcasts do.
Yeah.
But it's just turned into, it's gotten a life of its own, because now there's people, you know, making recommendations and making introductions to people that, you know, I might not know or haven't worked with in the industry. And we're bringing on these people that have a wealth of information and a wealth of stories to tell. So I'm excited about that. And we just keep going. And on top of it all, I have a tremendous amount of interviews that I've already done myself. Even before we started this podcast, I've recorded, you know, tons of interviews with people that I'm going to use for future projects. But who knows? Maybe we'll run some of this stuff in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, we have so many great things that we've got cooked up, and trust me, if I had more time, we would be doing so much more. But I love the fact that I'm at least part of it in some way, and putting the shows out there that everybody seems to dig. So thank you for listening, and man, looking forward to the more shows. And I tell you what, we're looking forward to right now.
Skull Rock Podcast answers your email.
I think we have someone new that's entering the chat this week, Dave. Do we not?
I don't know, but what I've gotten is I've got a couple emails from listeners, one of whom, Darlie Brewster, who was a guest with us, you know. So Darlie wrote, Roger is this is about last week's show, the first episode with Roger Chiasson. Roger is such a wonderful guy, she writes. I have known Roger and his brother Claude since 1979. My first job with him, let me see here, with him was Alvaro and Colin at Carnegie. He has been everywhere. He has run multiple companies, and Yowzer, his company, was a huge part of many of the films I worked on. He has a huge overview of the whole industry and is just a terrific animator. This will be a wonderful interview. Darlie in Los Angeles. Thank you, Darlie.
Awesome.
We really appreciate that. And then we also got another note. And this was commenting on Darlie's comment on Facebook. It starts out, he came to a few tunes on tap sessions. One was Jessica Rabbit theme session, and at the other sessions, I did show him drawings of the model as a waitress and on roller skates. He really liked my life drawing. He really said I could draw. Thanks, Roger. Pam in Toronto. So there you go.
Nice.
Now, there was another one. I can't seem to find it, but the gist of it was we had a listener, and I apologize for not being able to find where this came in, but I remember it distinctly. The person said, hey, I have a suggestion for a great guest. Aljon should be interviewed on the show. He's a musician and a fan, and I think you should do a show with Aljon. And I thought, wow, that is a great idea. We should do it. No, you know something, I don't even know if our listeners realize that you were in a band that traveled around the world doing USO shows. entertaining troops around the world.
Yes.
I think that's pretty awesome, and we should
yeah.
talk a little bit about that. So
Okay.
I think we're gonna put a pin in that,
Okay.
Aljon, and we're gonna do a show where I interview you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't have an IMDb page, so we'll try. We'll see what happens with that.
That's okay. I think our listeners would really like to know more about you.
Okay,
so,
sure.
And it's very fascinating because you're with Gibson Guitars,
Yeah.
which is based out of Nashville.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fascinating conversations there with all of the rock and rollers you deal with.
It's a lot of fun, and I've got some more rock and roll stories probably coming up over the next few months. That'll be a lot of fun. But I can tell you, we have a strict no a-hole policy that I work with, and we only work with the nicest people. So I love it.
Life is too short to deal with a-holes.
Yeah, we don't deal with donut holes at all. It's so funny because my wife and I, we talk about donut holes, and every time she goes, man, that guy's such a donut hole. And of course, you say that in front of the kids, are like, what, with donuts? Where are the donuts? But anyway, no, that's very sweet. And one of these days we can dig in. But I tell you what, man, I live a very strange and wonderful life. So very happy to be here. Hey, if you have an email, feel free. Shoot us at email Dave or Aljon at skullrockpodcast.com, and maybe we'll read your comment or suggestion in a future episode. All right, Dave, it's time. When you hear that glitch, it's the picks of the week. What have been watching this week, Dave?
I really do want to get that film, the film going through the projector.
I know.
Honestly,
I gotta find it.
I don't know where that went, but I really think we need to get that back.
Yeah, I don't know where that went either. To be quite honest, when I switched over from my new machine, I think I lost a bunch of files. So here we go. I'll find it maybe for next week.
That.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So this week I did go to the movies. I went to the local theater to see The Accountant 2 with Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. This people may remember the original The Accountant with Ben Affleck came out in 2016. This is the sequel. The synopsis is: forensic accountant Christian Wolf teams up with his estranged but highly lethal brother to track down mysterious assassins. This was a very entertaining film, I have to say. I love the fact that they added John Bernthal to the cast. He is a great a great foil to Ben Affleck, and J.K. Simmons is in this movie. It's really a wonderful cast, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gives this 78%, IMDb 7.3 out of 10, Fandango 92%, but those that saw the movie, 94% liked this movie. And I'm going to tell you, this doesn't happen very often, especially when I go to the theaters out here in Los Angeles, because you have a lot of industry people, that are going to the movies, at least where I live. And there was a big cheer and applause when this movie ended in the theater. Nice. You don't normally see that. Or hear that, but there was a cheer and applause when the film ended. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I really felt it was entertaining, and it was funny. There was some really funny moments in this, and most of it was around John Bernthal. He was hilarious. So I have to say, I recommend this movie. Go see The Accountant 2. Now, on the small screen, this past week, Disney Plus dropped Andor, and they dropped 3 episodes. Thank you very much. I appreciated the fact that they dropped 3 episodes.
Very nice.
And the synopsis is the story of rebel spy Cassian Andor's formative years of the rebellion and his difficult missions for the cause. Diego Luna plays Cassian Andor. He's really, I think, very terrific in this. There's a great cast. And the thing I'll say about this is that the first 2 episodes were rather slow for me. That was my feeling. The third episode started to pick up, and my understanding is that the rest of this season it will be action packed, and there'll be a lot more action going on in the episodes. But you got to slog through those first 2 episodes. And I will tell you, the first one felt like 2 hours, and it was only 54 minutes.
I was going to ask about the length of these episodes.
Yeah,
About an hour long.
They're hour long. They're 54-minute, 55-minute episodes. And IMDb gives it 8.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 96%. 85% liked the TV show who watched it. I'm really by that third episode I was really getting back into it. So Andor has dropped on Disney Plus, so check that out. I also watched several new episodes of season 2 of The Last of Us. And without giving anything away, I will tell you the second episode is shocking.
That's what I heard.
And it's shocking to people who haven't played the video game but are following the show, right? The people who have played the video game or are familiar with the game, those people, yeah, they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know, they were aware. So I'm not going to give anything. I don't know spoilers here. But IMDb gives the season 8.7 out of 10 so far. Rotten Tomatoes 95%. 90% of people like the show who have watched it. Again, you know, it's really a terrific cast. You know, it's a Joel and Ellie, a pair connected through the harshness of the world they live in, are forced to endure brutal circumstances and ruthless killers on a trek across a post-outbreak America. This is a horror, action, apocalyptic, and post-apocalyptic science fiction thriller adventure. That's the genres.
It's like Walking Dead, you know?
Yeah, and this is available on Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was Max's answer to The Walking Dead. And frankly, I really like this show a lot. I think it's a great show, so you can check it out on Max. It's season 2. They're dropping now. I think there might be 3 episodes up now.
Yeah.
I'm watching a limited series called The Last Anniversary.
Okay.
Sophie Honeywell inherits a house on Scribbly Gum Island, a place where many secrets and made famous by the disappearance of a couple decades ago. This is based on The Last Anniversary by Leanne Moriarty, and so it's based on a book, and it's a New Zealand television or limited series, if you will. IMDb gives a 7.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 86%. 54% like this TV show. I think that's a bit harsh. I actually have been enjoying this. It's a group of quirky characters that to me are really fantastic. Teresa Palmer plays Sophie Honeywell. Miranda Richardson plays Rose. Danielle McDonald is in this. She's a familiar face if you watch Australian television or New Zealand television. Uli Latukafu plays Callum. I'm terrible. I butcher people's names.
Oh no, it's fine.
Helen Thompson. It's really a wonderful cast of interesting people. So I'm enjoying this. And then finally, over on Apple. Oh, and by the way, the Last Anniversary is available on Prime. So you can check that out on Amazon Prime or AMC Plus subscription. And then finally, I also caught a couple of episodes of Your Friends and Neighbors, which is a TV show starring John Hamm, Amanda Peet, Mark Tallman, Olivia Munn. Really well done over at Apple Plus. After being fired in disgrace, a hedge fund manager resorts to stealing from his neighbors' homes in the affluent Westmont village, only to discover that the secrets hidden behind the wealthy facades might be more dangerous. Wonderful. I mean, I look at this as being sort of a comedy drama. And IMDb gives it 7.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 82%. And I don't know what this is. 56% like this TV show. That's baloney. I think this is a fantastic television show.
Okay.
It's really well done. I give it 2 thumbs up, and I would recommend people check this out. Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple Plus.
Nice.
Great cast, really well done, high quality television.
Love it.
That's what I've been watching, Aljon. What have you been watching?
Well, also high quality television streaming this week. I'm still barreling through The Handmaid's Tale. Once again, just another dystopian future. You know, we have a penchant for this dystopian future type of series there about a woman forced to live life as a concubine under fundamentalist theocratic dictatorship, sci-fi, psychological thriller, all that good stuff. Good times there at Handmaid's Tale. But what I wanted to talk about is Black Mirror. So this is season 7. Can you believe it? Season 7 of this. A lot of the seasons are maybe 6-episode arcs, etc. Once again, it's standalone, dramas, sharp, suspenseful, satirical tales that explore techno-paranoia. Black Mirror is a contemporary reworking of The Twilight Zone with stories that tap into the collective unease about modern technology in the world. And this season is no different. I will say this is probably my least favorite out of all of the seasons so far, but that doesn't mean it's not quality. I really liked the show, but when it came to like the shock and awe of prior seasons and the types of heart-wrenching moments, because I found myself like season 1 through 4 is probably some of the best stuff I've ever seen on Netflix in terms of series. The last couple of years have been good, maybe a little inconsistent. The Bandersnatch movie they did was very well done because it was a choose your own adventure. If you haven't done one of those, it's pretty amazing. So I had to watch it several times and went through different scenarios, and all of them were different. Did you see that, Dave? I don't know if you saw that or not.
I have not.
It's pretty amazing how they did that. But this one is great, and a couple of them are actually sequels to prior episodes. But there's episodes where there is a school teacher that goes through a traumatic accident where the husband has to decide whether or not to keep her on this life support, which will keep her alive, but it's basically like Apple Plus. So your brain gets dumped into the server and you get to live the rest of your life, but you have to pay for it. It's a subscription service. And so all of a sudden the terms and conditions change throughout their period together. And then all of a sudden it's ad supported. And then it's like, well, you need to get the next level up. And as they do this, they're getting bled more and more for the money. So he takes on several jobs and he has to do desperate things in order to keep her alive. And then their quality of life really dissipates and it gets to be in a shambles. And so these are the types of things. And that's just an example of one. There's another example of, there's this video game developer that is working on a project, and all of a sudden the creatures, you remember this craze in the 90s where the Tamagotchi games, everybody had these little keychains where they're taking care of the virtual pets. Remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So imagine if you just kept on upgrading the computer and all of a sudden those little virtual pets became sentient, and then somebody threatened to destroy all the sentient beings, and they found a link to try to stay alive, and then they realized that human beings are bad and they want to take over the world. Right. I mean, it's those really strange stories, you know, that are completely fascinating. One of probably the most heart-wrenching ones for me is called Eulogy. And this is stars Paul Giamatti, who's amazing, by the way.
Oh, he's a great actor.
He's just such a great actor. And Paul Giamatti plays someone who had someone pass away, his loved one passed away, but not without understanding the reason why his then, you know, girlfriend wanted to be fiance, walked out on him, was because, you know, of this extenuating circumstance. And because he was able to log into virtual reality, examine what happened, and found a letter that he'd never found before. And he unearthed it from a picture and then found out the reason why she left him. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. And you realize this is all because of technology, that they're able to relive these moments and figure out what happened. But it's a great watch. And this anthology is certainly one to check out. So I can't tell you how much of a fan I am of this series, but definitely go out there, out of your way, and check it out. Black Mirror on Netflix.
Awesome.
All right,
Wow.
gang. That's what we've been watching this week. And there are only 6 episodes, by the way. So it's an easy binge watch. 40 minutes of that episode. It's pretty cool. But once again, what have you been watching? Let us know. Send us those emails and maybe we'll check your recommendation out and review it in a future episode.
Skull Rock Podcast. This week in Disney and pop culture.
All right. This week in the box office, Sinners blowing past Accountant 2. Revenge of the Sith with a massive $42 to $44 million haul. Dave, it's a really crazy time when a Star Wars re-release makes as much as Snow White in the box office.
You know something. I mean, good for Disney for re-releasing it. You know, they need to recoup their losses. You know, from Snow White.
The way I see it is, May the 4th is just right around the corner. You might as well release all the Star Wars movies and get a big haul at the box office. But you know, you talked about Sinners and The Accountant. This is really good stuff. Ben Affleck's Accountant sequel and the Star Wars Episode 3 anniversary re-release are doing really well. Now, Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. We know Ryan Coogler from Rocky and Black Panther, but of course, it's got another movie out with Michael B. Jordan called Sinners. Pretty good. Not too shabby.
Yeah, this is kind of a horror period piece.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So, but it seems to be resonating with audiences.
This is going to be interesting for Ryan Coogler because he's not known for horror. You know, he's done a lot of biopics and different things in the past. So I really like his style. I think Ryan Coogler is an amazing director. So I can't wait to check that out. And Michael B. Jordan is an amazing actor. I remember watching Michael B. Jordan about 20 years ago on All My Children. You know, maybe 25 years ago now. And he was just a kid on All My Children. And man, he's grown up. Man, he's a fantastic actor. And then, of course, you love The Accountant is doing really well. Still hanging in there in the box office. So definitely some stuff to check out. You know, we're looming into the blockbuster season, Dave. And, you know, next week, I believe Fantastic Four is going to be released. So that should be pretty good. I can't wait for that. Amazon Studios' new action thriller, The Accountant 2, that Dave talked about, as well as the anniversary release of Star Wars Episode 3. 20 years. I can't believe it, Dave. 20 years since the release of Episode 3. Did you happen to see the re-release? They had Hayden Christensen come out and intro the film. I think that was over at El Capitan. Was it El Capitan they did the re-release?
It very well may have been. I missed that, so I don't know.
Well, guess who else joined him? Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, there you go.
Went on stage to thank the fans for supporting Star Wars for all these years. And I'd have to tell you, you know, Samuel L. Jackson just doesn't age. He just looks great. Tremendous. Absolute tremendous. And Hayden Christensen, both. But, you know, once again, looking good. Box office looking good. Getting into the summer blockbuster period. Speaking of blockbusters, Disney Plus adds The Simpsons 24/7 stream, available now. All 35 seasons in episodic order, available now at launch on Disney Plus. I don't know if I could ever see all the
I
episodes.
think it's fantastic. I really do. And by the way, if you watch like the first season of The Simpsons,
Yeah.
you'll really see the style of The Simpsons slightly change and morph into what we know of it today.
I love it. Didn't The Simpsons start off as a sketch on the Tracy Ullman show back on
Yes,
Fox?
yeah, that's exactly where it started. It
Okay.
was these little short little animations that were on the Tracy Ullman show.
I love that because it was kind of, very free form. I mean, the lines were not as, however they're done. I mean, Dave, you know the secret recipe of this. Did you work on The Simpsons?
No,
At
I
some
never
point?
did any work
I
on
was-
The Simpsons. I've just been on the sidelines as a huge fan
Okay,
of The Simpsons.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
you'd been in so many different projects, working with Ren and Stimpy and the Disney stuff that you've been working on. I just assumed that maybe you worked on The Simpsons at one point because I think everybody had.
No, I know a ton of people who worked on The Simpsons, but I've been a huge fan of The Simpsons since the Tracy Ullman show.
Yeah.
And you got to realize, I think those early ones, I don't know who was doing them, but you can see the original sort of Matt Groening,
Yeah.
version, if you will,
Yes.
of The Simpsons. And it's been refined and polished a little bit from that, those first couple seasons. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful.
I love it. It's like watching King of the Hill or seeing, there's so many of these shows that start off, with different kind of animation and even like early South Park. If you look at early South Park and the way it's kind of evolved now and they're so topical and they turn around the show so quickly, it's pretty fascinating to see. But my gosh, that's incredible.
And The Simpsons, I think, is the longest running sitcom in television history now.
Yeah, in prime
has
time
been for a
too.
while. Yeah.
in its prime time, it's unbelievable. What a juggernaut, The Simpsons.
Yeah, I'm glad they're dedicating a 24/7 tile to The Simpsons on Disney Plus.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes complete sense would be a new season of Wednesday. I love this show. Wednesday season 2 trailer and the premiere dates released by Netflix. Jenna Otorga says, "I do my best work in the dark." Wow, Jenna. You are quite the opposite of Rachel Zegler, I have to say. Jenna Ortega is a tremendous actress. I'm a big fan. She'll be reprising her role, of course, as the Wednesday Addams. And the new season looks freaking great, Dave.
The trailer's fantastic. I love the trailer. I watched it a couple of times.
So good. It's so good. So I'm in great anticipation of this. Last season was absolutely amazing. I thought it was a surprise hit. Definitely took a lot of people by surprise. The show will be released in 2 batches. The first part released August 6th, and the next part released September 3rd. In this new trailer, Wednesday returns for a second year at Nevermore Academy, private school for outcasts. Morticia Adams, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, love her, notes her daughter had never wanted to return to school before, and Wednesday deadpans back, quote, "It's like returning to the scene of a crime. I already know where the bodies are buried." It's good stuff. I do my best work in the dark. She's magnificent. We love it. Can't wait. Now, Warner Brothers Discovery beats lawsuit over Superman rights. Now, the lawsuit from the estate of Superman co-creator Joseph Schuster threatened Superman's rollout in several countries ahead of its release. The court found that the case doesn't belong in federal court. Dave, what exactly is all this about?
This is really, and this has been going on for years. This is creators are clawing back rights to characters that have, really become part of the fabric, the entertainment fabric of the world, really, especially when you think of Superman. These things, copyright, who owns the copyright are, working their way through the courts. Marvel went through a whole bunch of those.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember years ago.
And Disney.
And so, here's one that, was a blow to the family, but the court is ruling on the law. And basically, saying it doesn't belong in federal court. It doesn't mean that it's dead. It means that they have to, go to a different court, and a lot of this had to do with copyrights in foreign countries. So it's interesting that there's still fighting going on over Superman. But guess what? Schuster and the other guy that created Superman, they sold it for $130.
Yeah.
$130 back in whatever it was, the late 30s. I think they.
Yeah. He's the first of the golden age superheroes. One of the first, I would say. I mean, there's like there's like the Phantom, and like there's the other ones in there. But yeah, I mean, that was, forever. 1938, Dave. Right?
Yeah. So Jerome Siegel and Schuster, the graphic artist, so the writer, Jerome Siegel, and Schuster, the graphic artist, sold their rights to the character and story for $130.
Unbelievable. That's a lot of money back in 1938.
I mean, it was a lot of money back then, but still, it's like since then, it's frequently been the target of litigation, starting in 1947 when the duo sued to invalidate DC's ownership of the rights to Superman. The case settled then for a $94,000 payout to Schuster and Siegel to resolve the case. So, to me, what the heck, I mean, when does it end? People just keep coming back to the well for more. I think at some point somebody has to say, you know what? They solved they resolved this case, and this was the payout.
Yeah. At some point.
$94,000 was a lot of money back then, but they seem to want to keep coming back to the well for more money. So I don't know how they're going to resolve it, but it'll be through the courts.
Yeah. Everybody sees, the Brinks truck rolling back, and they want some of that action.
It's going to be interesting to see how the new Superman movie does at the box office. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I just feel like, I don't know, Aljon, I've always felt like the Superman property is cursed. When you look at all the different people who have played Superman over the years and what's happened to them. The original George Reeves in the TV show, committed suicide, and and then Christopher Reeves, who played Superman, became paralyzed from the neck down and ultimately died. And, I mean, it's just, there just seems to be this stigma, or the property's tainted in some way. But I hope James Gunn is able to, put out a great Superman movie. We'll see. That's their first big thing.
I think Zack Snyder's Superman would have been okay if Superman didn't kill General Zod, because Superman doesn't kill. Mm-hmm. That's like the number one, comic book thing. It's like Spider-Man doesn't kill, and neither does Superman. I mean, those are things you don't do. You don't do it. I've been reading comic books my whole life, much like you, Dave. We've followed these characters. They live by a very high moral code. Without the high moral code, there is no superhero.
Right.
There is none. And so you have reverence toward it. And I think if they didn't just go for it with shock value, I believe personally it is a blow to the comic book fans, and it treats the superhero with disrespect. You disrespect the fans when you do stuff like that, and you disrespect the character when you do. Can you imagine Mickey Mouse doing something off color? I mean, we've seen Mickey Mouse be the mad Mickey Mouse and the crazed Mickey Mouse, the happy, playful Mickey Mouse. But, if there's something off brand that would never happen to Mickey Mouse, would Disney ever allow that?
At this point, you never know.
Well,
maybe
that's the wrong.
There's been a lot of brand damage done over the last several years.
Maybe that's
Disney,
the wrong example, but I mean,
I would hope not. I would hope not. But you know what? There's been some really bad choices made over at Disney in recent years.
Okay, that's a bad example. Well, you see, Dave, here we go. Dave slaps me back to reality. Get off that soapbox, Aljon. Just leave Superman alone. All right, so let's move on, shall we? Let's get into
obituary roll call.
All right, Dave. Lar Park Lincoln, actress in Knots Landing and Friday the 13th, Part 7, dies at the age of 63. You sent me this story, Dave, and of course, I remember Lar Park Lincoln. She founded the Actors Audition Studios in Dallas and published a book about making it in the entertainment industry. I think a lot of people remember her from Knots Landing, but I certainly know her from Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Only 63 years old, and she had battled breast cancer as well. My heart goes out to her fans and her family. I mean,
yeah, it's very sad. I mean, 63 is so young.
It is. Park Lincoln arrived on CBS's Knots Landing in 1987 as Linda, the daughter of Michelle Lee's Karen Fairgate, in the primetime soap's 9th season. She returned as a character for the 11th season in 89 and was brought back several times. And once again, Friday the 13th, The New Blood in 1988, her Tina Shepard squares off against Jason Voorhees and puts him away for good. Almost. You can't keep a good man down. You certainly can't keep a good dead man down. But please rest in peace, Lar Park Lincoln. Gone too soon. Bruce Logan, VFX pioneer on Star Wars in 2001, A Space Odyssey, dies at 78. The legendary British-born animator and special effects innovator was also a cinematographer on Tron. Dave, did you ever work with Bruce Logan?
No, I never did. But when I saw this come across, I really wanted us to just, make sure we mention it, because this is one of those great people who did his work behind the camera, and on some really great movies and very memorable movies. And you got to realize, 2001: A Space Odyssey was Stanley Kubrick directed, and Star Wars, the original Star Wars with George Lucas. I mean, these were done before the advent of computer or digital effects. This is all practical effects and using optical printers and things like that, compositing stuff. So, he's one of the titans who was a real pioneer of visual effects, back in the late 60s and into the 70s.
Logan's daughter, Mary Grace Logan, paid tribute to her father, quote, "Before CGI ruled the screen, there were visionaries who lit the future by hand. From 2001: A Space Odyssey to Tron, my dad didn't just work on movies, he made magic. A rebel with a camera, a pioneer with a story, and my personal hero." That's a really great dedication to her father.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Well said.
So Bruce Logan, 78. Again, I think that's young.
Oh, unbelievable. What a career. Yeah. And lastly this week, Will Hutchins, star of ABC's Sugarfoot, oh my goodness, dies at the age of 94. The one-time Warner Brothers contract player also appeared in 2 Elvis films and played a New York City landlord and Dagwood Bumstead on the short-lived sitcoms. Will Hutchins, Dave, this is a little bit before my time.
Yeah, but 94.
Wowzers.
I mean, that's more like it,
Yeah, right. He played a frontier lawyer, Tom Brewster, on the 57, started 1957 through 1961 ABC Western Sugarfoot. He also has got a lot of stage time as well. And then, of course, he was on this NBC sitcom, Hey Landlord, created by Gary Marshall and Jerry Belson, fresh off their work off the Dick Van Dyke Show. And this was, he starred as Woody Banner, who inherits a Manhattan brownstone from his uncle in Hey Landlord. Interesting stuff here. And he was also in the big screen too. He was in 2 movies for Elvis. And then also in the Tom Wilson as buddy Tom Wilson in Clambake. Clambake. I remember Clambake, in which he lip synced "Who Needs Money" in a duet with Elvis. How about that?
And you know something, he's not a household name, but he had a great career, and he worked consistently. He did a lot of stuff in the business.
Very good stuff. Good stuff indeed. So rest in peace. Well, I tell you what, now is a great time for you to sit back and relax and check out our second part of this magnificent interview with Roger Chiasson. Check out part 2. Dave.
Let's do it.
Skull Rock Podcast. Interview time.
Well, Aljon, we are back for week 2 with Canadian animator Roger Chiasson. And Roger, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, last week we kind of left off with you talking about how you were going to get on to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but first Chuck Gamage wanted you to do a couple of commercials first.
So, yeah, it was actually Chuck. It was Dick. Dick who wanted to do it.
Oh, Dick wanted you to do the commercials. So if you would step us through that. He wanted you to go to New York first?
Yeah. So basically, he had a studio, and he had another studio down the street where they were doing Roger Rabbit. And I knew all about it, and I came in there later after we did the commercial. I went back to England, but then I met everybody. But I wasn't right away put on the feature because they wanted me to do this commercial. So I went to New York first. I spent 2 weeks and stayed at my producer, Andrew Ruman, who now ran Passion.
I was just about to say, Andrew Ruman of Passion Pictures fame.
Yeah. And he was probably one of the best producers I've ever seen, because I took these meetings with these agency people, and he was talking to me to them about me, like I was the God's gift to animation. He was like, what the hell is he talking about? And I wasn't used to that. And I told him later, I says, why did you do that? He says, well, that's part of my job. If I don't do that, I got to convince those guys that you know your stuff.
Right.
And if they respect that, then you're going to get a lot further ahead, because if they have doubts about you, they're going to question everything you do. So that's a major thing that producers have to do. They have to represent their talent well. Yeah. Sometimes producers just don't do that. But anyways, that's another story. Andrew was terrific, and he did the commercial. And I had my brother Claude, who was actually supposed to be on Roger Rabbit, but he couldn't get what he wanted to be there, because Claude was always like, he knew what he wanted, and he wanted a certain amount of money to do this job. And so he went back to the Philippines, and this is another story about him. But anyways, for me, I had to spend 2 weeks in New York, and I stayed at this Algonquin Hotel, and my office was in the Chrysler building. So for a week, 2 weeks.
Nice.
It was like a dream. I was like, well, I'm going into the Chrysler building.
That's a beautiful Art Deco building. And
they love me because you're from Canada, and have you ever tried Cuban food? I go, no. Well, come with me. We're taking to lunch like every day. So I got fat. Finally, I left with all the ammunition. I went to set up in London, started talking to Dick. He would come at night after being all day at Dick Williams, and we'd review the commercial or whatever, the storyboard. And so I did the commercial, and it took a while because he actually wanted me to do something. I think I did an extra commercial. And I kept saying, well, I really want to get on Roger Rabbit. And then he says, well, I'd like to, would you consider staying here and just heading up my studio with me? And I said, geez, that's amazing. But I really, because here's Chuck and Uli Meyer, the two good friends by now, saying how much fun they were having. They had like team pictures of me. I wasn't there for all that stuff. And geez, I want to get in there. And then when I finally went in there, 2 weeks later, Chuck and Uli were gone. They weren't as long on Roger Rabbit as they were supposed to. And anyway, so they went to work for Passion Pictures, and they set Andrew Ruman with some really quality commercials and everything. They did a lot of beautiful stuff. But I was happy on Roger because that's really what I came there for. And luckily, they wanted me to do Betty Boop because they said she was supposed to have a bigger part in the movie. She was supposed to have an affair with Eddie Valiant, apparently,
right?
Like part of the early script.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kept hearing all these stories, and I would go at night with the pub, and all the guys from Roger Rabbit would be there. Dave Spafford, first met Dave Spafford, and he says, "Look at this!" And he pulls out, he's got a floating dollar bill. Oh, what the hell? Like, he's a Mr. Magic.
Yes, yes.
Disappointed. And things like that. They were great people. They were so fun. They were glad to see. I can't wait to get you on board. We heard about you, so I was really happy to work on that. And then from there, I just gravitated to Jessica Rabbit because she was a tough one to do.
So who else was doing that? Jessica
Well,
Rabbit was.
it was Russell Hall, and he had
Russell
a girl
Hall.
in his office called Allison. She was doing great work.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Russell, he was so I think overwhelmed that he never bothered to really make a proper model sheet. It's not till when she was working for Don Bluth, what's her name? Vera Lamford.
Yeah.
She gathered some drawings that he had done and some drawings I had done and Allison had done. And she actually made a model sheet well after. We should have had that right from the beginning.
Right.
It was a hit and miss type of thing. So people were having to catch up a lot of times. We did Jessica Rabbit. I was lucky because I was right next door, so I was able to pick up stuff.
Russell was an amazing talent.
Oh my God!
Is he still around? Is he?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I never knew what happened to him.
One thing that sticks with me, I saw a commercial once where it's for an oil company, and it's an oil rig in the ocean.
Yeah,
and then there's an old English song. It was stormy, and lightning and everything, waves. All done in like a watercolor. It's amazing. Russell did that. It's just
wow.
It's a talent, you know.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those things I got in between Russell and Dick because there was a scene where Jessica Rabbit sees the dip. Oh my God, it's dip! And Dick says, "I want you to do a Tex Avery, but 200% Tex Avery, like balls out, do a huge take." And Russell's going, no, she's gonna look ugly. And Dick says, yeah, but it's funny. It's Tex Avery. It's a tribute. So I didn't know. I was stuck between the two. I didn't know what to do. So I talked to Bob Zemeckis, and he says, Roger, just why don't you do what you want to do, and then see what we'll have a starting point.
Yeah.
Get info in from both sides. So I just did what I could, best I could, and they loved it. So I said, great, that's how much done. I worried for nothing, you know.
Yeah,
and then the other thing was. Zemeckis also wanted like a full waist up of Betty Boop, completely bare, right? Nipples and all.
Really?
Yeah.
I worked on the film and I never heard this story.
Oh, well, he insisted on having one frame, like a nipple shot, and everybody knew about it. And so they were asking me how I'm going to do this, what I'm going to do. I said, well, there's got to be a way to do it with taste. All the ink and paint girls were giving me a hard time. Roger, you're not that kind of person. Basically, it's when Jessica starts to sing, they cut to Betty and she's hiking up her garter. And so as she bends down, her top falls a little bit, just a little bit. And you see like two little black nipples, but they look like Pac-Man, like the little pie shape. Black.
Yeah.
And then, so you don't know what it is. So basically, you see it for one frame and then she catches up to it. And that was in the movie. And then first they were going to take it out. Said they were going to take, but it's in, as far as I know.
Yeah,
it's. I'm going to have to go.
So now people, our listeners are going to have to go and see if they can step frame through that on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There was something similar that Dick Williams had done with Baby Herman when he storms off the maroon cartoon set and walks between the live woman's legs.
Yeah, he goes like.
Yeah, and he sticks his hand up. Yeah. I remember Dick actually rolling those drawings. He flipped those drawings for me. He had this big stack of drawings. He says, hey, Dave, look at this.
So funny because I worked on Tummy Trouble when I first started at Disney and working at Disney. And of course, I was the only guy that had done a lot of Jessica. So I was the Jessica guy. I had to do drawings for guys in Florida. I did turnarounds and for Jessica and Baby Herman.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of Baby Herman on that. And there's one at the beginning when he's crying and he takes a big breath like that. So I had a scene where he takes a big breath and his stomach gets really thin and he comes out of his diaper and you see three little pubic hairs. And he kind of looked like creases, but I knew what they were.
Yeah.
I put him there. And I got caught though. They took it out.
Oh, they did take it out?
Because it was just three hairs. He's a baby. He's not really a baby. He's like,
Yeah.
3-year-old dinky. 3-year-old dinky. Anyway. But anyways, yeah, that was my brush with infamy, I guess. The Betty Boop thing.
So, what was your general feeling about working on Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, I had a great time because not only did I work on Betty, I did a few weasels and Roger Rabbit. And I did a scene where there's a big fight. Oh, that was a pretty tough scene in a way because he jumps over the bar and starts. It's after Roger drinks the booze and he starts freaking out. And there's a shot where you just see Roger Rabbit's feet, and he's being like, "Wah!" You just see at the top of the screen like that.
Yeah, the feet are vibrating.
Yeah. And so Eddie jumps over the bar and starts fighting the weasels, and he punches one of the weasels. And the way they designed it, the weasel is right literally up against the table, and you see Eddie taking a punch, but there was no time because as soon as he punches, there's a pause before the table breaks. If somebody punches you that hard, you would knock over the table, but you couldn't do that. And then I said, well, maybe can we take, in those days, they could try and take frames out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's pieces of paper flying in the air. You couldn't take frames out. They would have flashed.
Right.
So what I did is I just basically had his head take the impact and then wheel back, and then the neck and body stretches, and then the butt hits and it worked.
Yeah.
So it's problem solving.
So it was really caricaturing the action in a creative way to solve the issue.
Yeah. A lot of times you had to do that. The toughest scenes were scenes where nothing happened, where Jessica is really tiny in a floor and they're doing a panning shot or a slow truck in. But it's not just trucking in, it's doing this.
Yeah. The
floor is going like that. So not only do you have to draw Jessica, you have to draw her turning with the pan. And that took so long to do.
I mean, the fact is that Dick Williams didn't really want any limitations for the camera for Bob Zemeckis. I think initially thought, well, we have to lock the camera, don't we? And Dick said, no, you don't. Because I remember dealing with some scenes where there was just a slight little 1/4-inch drift.
Yeah.
It could have been a locked shot, but it wasn't. And the camera just drifted. And you had to compensate for that, right? You know?
That was part of the problems. I mean, you got scenes like that, it really slowed you down. It could have been the easiest scenes, normally held frame, hands up like this. But no, not this time.
Yeah.
But still, it was fun. It was a challenge. And then you felt later on towards the end there, we could do stuff on twos when they're up on the hook. Mm-hmm. I did some scenes on the hook and he takes her off the hook. But whenever there's a ground, that's when the problems start. If you're up in the air, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
They should have left her on the hook for the whole picture.
Yeah, really. I look back fondly on Who Framed Roger Rabbit because I think it was a very international crew of artists. And that was one of the wonderful things about working on that at the Camden Town studio in London.
It was so fun because everybody was everywhere, from Australia, they were from France, it was like everywhere. And it was such a great project to work on. But it was a lot of work, but still it was fun. Something I'll always cherish,
Well, I've told people in the past that, when you look at Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I saw a screening of it a few years ago at a theater here in Los Angeles for the 25th anniversary, and it holds up really well.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'd love to see it on the big screen. I haven't seen that.
I mean, it really held up, I thought, incredibly well. If anything, and this is nitpicky, there were like one or two scenes where you could go in and make a little fix, but outside of that was absolutely, it worked. And it was taking live action and animation to the nth degree, which had never been done that way before. You had live action animation commercials quite a bit during that period, but nobody really took it to the degree that they did in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And they did it so well. And people, I think, are astounded that there were no computers at that point. Everything was done with optical printers, you know? And so analog, if you will. I mean, that's just amazing when you look at that.
I remember, too, kudos to the LA crew, because the old Toontown thing that they did was really great. Amazing stuff that they did. I thought people don't hear about those guys too, but everybody worked really, really hard. And it's not till I got to LA to find out, oh, you worked on this. I saw that scene. It's great. And they're the ones that told me there was like a little doll that a bowling ball hits, and that was some girl that people didn't like in production. There were great crews everywhere, like they're working on this. So to see both sides of it, I just finished on Roger Rabbit, and I worked actually one summer at the Sheridan College teaching, and then I went to LA from that after that. And so
you didn't go directly from Who Framed Roger Rabbit to LA. You went to Sheridan to teach.
Yeah, because it ended in June.
Yeah,
and Disney wasn't really starting yet or something, as they were readjusting everything. How would you feel about starting in January? I said, sure, right. I'll take some time and kind of rest for the summer.
Yeah.
Then I got there, and one of the teachers passed away. I forgot his name. An amazing UPA animator that passed away, and I replaced him for a summer.
Wow.
And it's funny because I had the all 3 years, basic, different kinds of abilities and years of animation, and nobody knew who I was. And Roger Rabbit hadn't come out yet. This was Roger came out like late June or something like that. And I had started teaching in the summer, and so they didn't know who I was. I was checking people's animation, and this girl was doing a bouncing ball. I said, "So what kind of ball are you doing?" I haven't decided. Okay, is it a bowling ball? Is it a cannonball? It affects how you go.
Yeah.
I'll see what happens, and I'll decide. I said, whatever, okay. And then there was a couple of other incidents that happened where people kind of like look at me like, shut up, what are you doing here? And then Roger Rabbit came out, and everybody's found out that I worked on it. It was like, oh my God, you worked on. I said, yeah. So I said, but wait a minute, I'm still the same guy. You told me to blow off, not bother you. And now all of a sudden I get this respect. Anybody can have a good idea. It doesn't have to have a whole lot of talent. Anybody can have a good idea or a suggestion. Pay attention to people, and then you learn quicker. You'd be surprised.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was a fun time, that's for sure.
So
in LA, I thought I was under the impression I was going to be doing development because they wanted Dick Burton to do Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
And I wanted to work with them for so long because they were such a talent, Dick and his wife, Jill. Yeah. And so they really wanted me on the Beauty and the Beast. But it came time for people to go over there. They left me behind because they wanted me to work on Rescuers down there. And I said, wait a minute, I came here.
Yeah, but just as well because Dick and Jill Purdom parted ways with Disney after their initial...
Exactly. But I had signed the contract I talked to people before signing with Disney, and I know it's tough. They assured me that they do really well by me. They would put me on development, and they kept, first of all, putting me on Tummy Trouble, which is fine. Then Rescuers Under, which I enjoyed too, but it was still not what I wanted. So I was really unhappy, and so I wanted to leave. I said, look, it's not what I signed up for. I feel like I've been lied to, blah, blah, blah. So I had to go through negotiation to be let out of my contract. So it took a while to get out of my contract.
Really? I would have thought they would have just let you out of your contract because...
No, they offered me all kinds of weird stuff. They offered me to go work in Florida. I said, I've never been to Florida. I heard it's humid. I don't know if I'd like it there. We'll send you there. We'll fly you there. You can stay at the hotels. Sure. And I went, they showed me housing and stuff like that because... things are cheaper in Florida, and they thought they could sway me and stuff. But finally, they let me go. And basically, I went down the street to Bill Croyer's to work on Fern Gully.
Okay.
So I was happy there because I was doing development. It was sort of the tail end of it, but some development. I helped design the costume for Krista and a couple of other little things with the bugs and everything. But they were near the end. And then I went into animation for that. And then when that was over, what did I do after that? Oh, I ended up working for, that was great, Bob Kurtz.
Oh, yeah.
Kurtz is a genius.
Yeah, Bob's been a guest on the podcast.
Oh, really? I'm going to have to.
He's terrific. He's got some great stories to tell.
Oh, I'll tell you, it was like being in England again because he's so creative, and then he doesn't matter. There was a scene, and talk about titles for movies and stuff. We did a lot of film titles for Honey, I Shrunk the Kid was the one that was done by Curry, but did another one, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. And then there was something called something in Vegas, Honeymoon in Vegas, which is an animated intro with a guy trying to scale a wedding cake, and the bride's on top of the cake. It's basically he attempts to get there. He did pole vaulting, and he goes almost there, and it works back, and there's little setup gags, and they weren't really timed up perfectly. And I had a scene where he comes in with a cannon, and he wheels in the cannon. He gets in the cannon, and he flicks a switch, and it goes click, 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 and then boom.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens, and there's a pause, and all of a sudden he kind of crawls out, comes out slow, and he was laughing. I said, "Well, the only thing, like, Bob, it's longer than the scene. You budgeted for this much money. I don't care. It's funny."
Is this Bob Kurtz?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Bob. Okay.
Anything for a gag. I'm telling you. He would like. I'd see him in the morning. His pitch room that he has there at the studio. On the table is all this plastic Japanese food, burgers.
All the artificial,
and he grabs
the fake food.
And he grabs his rubber chicken.
Yeah.
Puts it in the bag. So I always go when a pitch, puts it in there. Off he goes, and he gets the next film titles. And I ended up working with him on a Scooby-Doo title. And I had been training some of these young guys who had come off of Disney Canada. Disney had closed down, so we picked a lot of really top people, and we were having a lot of fun on doing stuff. And then he had this titles to do, and we were in, it's like a video room, and he pitched the whole opening for Scooby-Doo. And at one point, he gets on top of the table and starts acting out so we could see what was happening for the whole body. And I was like, and the animators are just dying laughing. Yeah. I said, "That's Bob Kurtz."
Yeah, no, Bob's terrific. I noticed. Did you work on the Roman City special?
Yes.
Because I did work on that as well for Bob.
Really, eh? I worked briefly on that. I don't know why I didn't stay on there.
Yeah, that won an Emmy award.
No.
Yes.
I did a couple of scenes.
It won an Emmy.
But
I remember working on that. It was for PBS.
Wow. One of the funnest thing was that on Jurassic Park, the Mr. DNA, that was all Bob. And the guy pricks his finger and Mr. DNA comes out and he does an old spiel like the old cartoons and back in school, crudely animated. And it was so much fun to do. And I worked with Shane Alvin, who came on and actually stayed with Bob quite a while because I went on to work on Rocko's Modern Life at Nickelodeon. They were just starting Nickelodeon then. And that's probably the best storyboarding I've ever done because it was all visual.
Yeah.
There was a script. It was just one-page script. Rocko goes to the beach. Hilarity ensues. Like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I divided, I was head of boards. I divided all the guys into two-man groups, and they just pitched. They did a whole bunch of things, put it up on the wall, and then we'd call in the writers, and they pitched the story. And they had written some dialogue. Like, I wrote some dialogue for Roger Rabbit, and the writers came in. It was like a guy wrestling in this corner. The whatever. I had all kinds of it off the top of my head, like the murderer from Minnesota, everything that things like that.
Right.
They were laughing. They said, "This is great. We're going to use this. We're going to use this. This is great." I didn't think anything of it. Years later, I get a check from the Writers Guild of America. I'm now a member of the Writers Guild of America.
Wow.
And all I did was contributed to a storyboard, which is very hard to do these days, apparently. It was some of the people in Pixar who do a lot of writing, they don't get much credit for it.
Yeah. Well, and that when you think about it, I mean, it's sort of the old way of doing animation, right? Yeah. Where they're boarding and they're putting dialogue up, the little strips of dialogue that they're just writing out with pencils.
Yeah. And then the writers come in. They always have something to go to, and they go, "Hey, we could write this, we could write that." It sets them off into much more creative.
Yeah,
that's the way boarding should be done.
Absolutely.
I don't like boarding for TV now. They want way too much poses in their boards. Like I used to be, there's a building and a car comes up. You just draw one car and an arrow in. No, you have to do every 12 frames.
Yeah.
Door opens, guy gets out. Goes the stairs, up the stairs, to the door, pose, at no extra money. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, you after Bob Kurtz, you actually went back to Disney to work on Hunchback?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
First of all, I was supposed to work on Lion King.
Right.
Tony Pacelli, after leaving Fern Gully, he ended up back there. and he was there. And they didn't have as many good people, they said, on Lion King, but I went in to see what they were doing. And I thought,
Well, you know what was happening during that period, Roger, was that they were splitting the
Pocahontas.
crew. They were splitting the crew into two units because
Yeah.
they wanted two pictures going at the same time.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of people were trying to get onto Pocahontas because they felt Lion King was a troubled movie, you know, and then you look at what happened with both of them, you know.
But as soon as I saw this, I spoke to Don Hahn about it. I said, I really like this idea. This is great. I thought right away, it has a lot of possibilities. And I was quite excited. They got me all excited to work on it. So it says, well, you have to go talk to production. It's the same guys that I was at odds with in my contract.
Oh, boy.
So he offered me the same money that I was getting when I first got to Disney, which was like the bare minimum. Everybody got like $800 a week and stuff like that. I said, whoa. I now have a house, I have a wife, a baby. It's the same. I can't do it. Well, this is going to be on the table for like for the next 3 months. Take it or leave it. Okay. So I phoned back Don Hahn. I said, sorry, I can't do it. I can't afford to work for you guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Goodbye. So years later, I get a call from, I forgot who the producer was. I wish I could remember his name. He's a great guy. And he said, yeah, we're doing Hunchback and you're interested. He says, wait a minute. This is what happened last time. I'm not going to go there and look at anything. I want you to make me an offer, the best offer you can do. And if it's anywhere close, I'll take it. So they did. And I was shocked. And I said, great, I'm on board. And then I saw what they were working. It looked great. But, you know, it's basically, I said, because I explained to him what had happened with this guy. I said, well, he's left now. We got rid of him because he was responsible for having James Baxter leaving and all these people had left Duncan. And they came back once he was gone.
I wonder if that was Bill Dennis.
I don't want to talk about that. But yeah. Anyways, those are the things you have to go through. And he had a job to do and responsibility. It's nothing personal. I mean, just could not at that time afford to pay for mortgages, and he wasn't willing to listen. He was mad because he had let me go, and then I was coming back. So I didn't mean to come back. I didn't knock on their door. They were asking me. Yeah. So
how was it working on Hunchback?
I had a good time on it. It was tough work, tough character.
You did Frollo? Yeah.
The main problem was that damn hat.
Yeah.
They had this weird hat designed that Kathy Zielinski. She was great. Most of the time she did Frollo scenes in front of the fire pit. She had no hat. And he had no hat. So that's the problem. I kept saying, well, this hat's got an S curve. And if it turns, you cannot in between that property. It looks like it's boiling no matter what you do.
Yeah.
He goes, what are you talking about? So for months we were fighting. And finally she had a scene with the hat. She goes, oh, Roger, she said, well, I told you that, you know, I have so much respect for Kathy because I saw what she did on Fern Gully. She did an amazing job on that. She was always an amazing.
She's an incredible talent. And by the way, another person who has been on the Skull Rock podcast. I did an interview. I did an interview with her.
I'm gonna have to
actually a few years ago.
She's a great lady.
She's a great animator. Oh. Absolutely fantastic animator and a really fun person.
Yeah. She has a dark side, which I like.
Well, she likes doing
bugs. She's into bugs.
But she likes doing villains. You know?
Yeah. She's perfect for that role. I'm telling you. So, yeah, I had such a good time. Everybody that worked there were very helpful. For me, they were great. Even when I was unhappy at Rescuers, they did everything they could to make me happy. They put me on some development stuff for what's that, Mickey Mouse Runaway Brain.
Yeah.
You know, doing not animation, but poses for the animators in France.
Sure.
Which I enjoyed doing. It was kind of a nice break and things like that. And then I worked with Chris Bailey quite a bit on different things. But yeah, it was fun. You know, it's just one of those things. And after battling for these year or so, maybe more, to be let go is like a relief.
So you worked on Hunchback. Did you leave or did you go on to Hercules?
Well, no, I went from Hunchback. How did I end up on Hercules? Because they were all this time they wanted me to go back to France because I could speak French.
Yeah, so they had the French studio going.
Yeah, and I knew Paul and Gaetan. They were really great people.
Oh my gosh, those guys are. Yeah.
So I thought this would be great, you know. But I didn't take into account how expensive it was going to be. Paris was terribly expensive, and I just couldn't afford it. I mean, I was dying, and I said, "Look," and they asked me, "Would you go to Florida?" I said, "Well, to do what?" And then I said, "Look, like I've been talking to Claude, my brother, and he's got this thing going, studio." So I decided to help him, and so we decided to go, and we did a bunch of stuff for Osmosis Jones, which was great. We had such a good time on that, and Curious George, all these features. Curious George, I got directed by what's his name? A great animator at Disney.
Matt O'Callahan.
Yeah, Matt O'Connor was terrific.
Yeah, I just saw Matt O'Callahan a little while ago in Nashville.
Well, Tom Cito is also great on Rescuers, and Pete Kroon, and then all these guys. They were great, like just like old friends. Even though we're in Canada and we're far away, everything was like by video. We communicate every day.
Yeah, but you're jumping ahead when you talk about Curious George, because you had worked on aside from Hunchback, you went on to Hercules, and you also have credit on Tarzan.
Yeah, well, I credit on Tarzan. I didn't think I would because I didn't actually taught. The reason I went at that time was because I would have had to sign on. It's to do with the salaries, I guess. You come under a different development is different than animation, a different money. So that means I would have been staying on for animation. So I had to leave at that time. And so while I was working on development on Hercules, there was stuff on Tarzan. There was some stuff on Hercules that they were doing. So they needed help with that. So I did a couple of scenes. That's all.
So you did some stuff on you were working on Hercules.
It was just Hades. I mean, Sergio stuff was unbelievable. And able to do anything that's close to that. So it was great. And the French guys were all great. They were such talents. I wonder where they're all. Hopefully, there was such a great, strong studio of people over there. It would have been great for somebody to come in and just pick them up.
Yeah, there's still some good animation going on over in France. I mean, did you see Chicken for Linda, which was a French feature last year that was beautifully done? Wonderful feature.
Yeah, they've got great animators.
And the stop motion for The Inventor, the stop motion film that Jim Capabianco directed. The stop motion was done down, I think, in Lyon, France. So there's a lot of really great animators over there.
Like you must have seen Arcade. Arcade is like it's unbelievable. I saw that. It's like CG, but it's great.
Yeah.
It was done in France, as far as I know.
Yep.
And I don't know who does Blue Samurai, but also really film cinematically wonderful. I mean, makes you want to, now that we can do, like, I think Gindi was the first one. When I saw the first Hotel Transylvania and I saw multiple arms on the CG scene, I went, holy geez, they figured it out.
Yeah.
Because that was like our one saving grace of doing traditional. We could do multiple feet, toes, and whatever. Scrambles. You can do that now with CG.
Right.
Just add in. And because he wanted that. And so, and all of a sudden, everybody's doing that now. So it's become almost like traditional. And also there's like things like, I mean, I should really give it a try. Blender is free now. I want to maybe try and learn how to do that because you can apply all the stuff from traditional and do it in Blender. And there's this thing called Moho, which I don't know, what I've seen looks pretty amazing.
So, obviously you've done traditional 2D animation. How do you view some of the films that have been coming out in recent years? Do you go see most of them?
I usually see most of the
features.
The CG features. I'll get around to seeing what they look like and everything.
Yeah,
and then some really nice stuff. Like I love the little minions and all that stuff. I think it's really well done. It's like great stuff. Beautiful.
Yeah, from Illuminations.
Yeah, Illuminations.
Yeah, they're cartoony. That's why they're good cartoony characters.
Yeah, and then also all the stuff that is done at Spa is incredible. I felt terrible when they pulled that feature that they were supposed to start. I mean, it's unbelievable.
You're talking about like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh no, that's something else. I actually really liked that. I was like, didn't think I would like it. I know I loved it.
I thought it was really well done from the standpoint that, it's like a comic book coming to life,
Yeah,
you know,
it's creative.
and it's a mix of CG techniques and D techniques.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this one thing, I think it's in the second one, where they've got this glitch character, and they were talking about how complicated it is to do because he keeps glitching, you know, and then you go these phases change abruptly and stuff. And it's a technique that they do. First time I saw that, I said to somebody, I said, well, they should have got in touch with, because they were complaining how hard it was to do that. I said, they should have got in touch with Mike Smith because he used to do that stuff back in London when we do glitches. Just basically pop into a pose,
Yeah.
put something in there, and it was energetic and it was wonderful. Like I animated a scene, it's 4 seconds long, and the prompt, the idea was this: it's for a morning show. And they wanted to see a rooster being hit by a clock. A giant clock hits and nails the rooster.
Yeah.
I had to do it in 4 frames, and I went, "Get out of here," And I'm thinking about it. How am I going to do that? And Mike said, "You can do it. Put your mind to it." And I did the best I could, and it kind of worked out because when you see the scene, he's already been hit. The hit has already happened, and it's basically a flash and then a reaction, and it reads beautifully.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get in my head that here I am trying to do that. You need to see the thing's got to come in and hit. No. The hit's already happened. As soon as I said that, and then it clicked in. So that's when you start learning animation, timing and stuff.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff I like to do.
Let me ask you something. Who do you feel like you learned the most from in your career? And I'm sure there's probably several, but if you think about it, who do you look back at and say, "Gosh, I learned so much from that person"?
It's so hard. The number of people I've worked with all over the world, and everywhere I go, there's people like this. They're so good. You can't even compare them. Like I see, did you ever see those films called what is it called? Meet Buck, and another one called Salesman Pete.
I haven't seen those.
It's done in France.
Okay.
It's CG, and it's like a painterly, kind of like Arcane.
Okay.
Super cartoony, like really, really bizarre, but really funny, and the timing is exquisite. It's so good. If you go to YouTube and type out Meet Buck, or also the other one is Salesman Pete, have a look and you'll see what I think. It's the same guys that do Arcade, because I can see it's CG. The timing is just exquisite. So freaking good. I love that stuff.
Meet Buck and what was the other one? Meet Buck and
Salesman Pete. Salesman Pete was done before Meet Buck. Meet Buck, I won't tell you anything about it because I want to spoil the ending. On either one.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and look those up and watch those before we do our third part of our interview, because we're gonna we're gonna be bumping up against the wall, and I want to talk more next time we get together. I want to talk more about Curious George. I want to talk about Kronk's New Groove and some of these other projects. Some of these other projects you worked on, and I also want to talk to you about just the state of the animation business in general from a feature standpoint. I know it's rough right now up in Toronto. There's not a lot of stuff happening in Toronto, but I want to just kind of pull back away from Toronto and just look at animation in general. So maybe you could think about that for the next week when we come back for part 3.
You're all depressed.
Well, yeah, but something, I think it's always good to talk these things through.
You're having to deal with ageism. We're older.
Yeah.
You'll never work for this money. You'd be surprised what I do. What I'm doing right now, I'm doing something that's like paid actually hardly any money.
Yeah, but something, we should talk about these things. And I've heard about the ageism topic from other artists that I've had on the show, and it's a real thing out there. It's the ism nobody's really talking about. But I just want to get your impressions on some of the contemporary animation that's coming out today. We could talk about The Wild Robot, if you saw it.
Oh, I like that.
Which I think was probably one of the best animated features
I
of
like
2024. So that, I think At this point, Roger, I think we've sort of set the stage for next week's episode, and I'm going to say thank you for being on the Skull Rock podcast again, and I look forward to talking to you next week with part 3. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Skull Rock Podcast is thrilled to announce that we are now on Patreon. Dive deeper into the world of animation, films, and behind-the-scenes stories with your hosts Al John Go and Dave Bossert. Not only will you be helping to keep the magic alive, but will be part of our special community. We want to thank friend of the show, Joshua Volkert, as well as Skull Rock crew members, Steve Minch and Chris Banis, for their support. If you would like to join our Skull Rock crew, please visit our Patreon link in our show notes or visit patreon.com/Skull Rock Podcast. Thank you for listening and for your continued support of everything we do.
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie? Empire Strikes Back? You know that part? Where they're on the snow planet? With the walking thingies?
Skull Rock Podcast.
Maybe the kid's onto something.
Your attention, please. Now loading on track number 1 for a trip around Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom.
Skull Rock Podcast.
All aboard.
Your Main Street to the world of Disney.
All right, part 2 of Roger Chiasson. And what an awesome interview, and a nice guy too.
Yeah, he really is. He's really terrific, and again, just a veteran of the industry. Just love talking with him and hearing the stories. He's just had such a diverse career, man. And we've once again just scratched the surface. Can you believe it? He'll be back for part 3. Yeah, no, I mean, again, just so our listeners know, we take our time with our guests. We really want to, hear the stories, and we don't rush through things, So if it's 3, 4, 5 parts, 6 parts, whatever it is, that's what we're going to do. So I think with Roger, I think we've got 4 parts to his interview.
We're having a great time here on the show, and wow, thank you so much. Because we made it to yet the end of another amazing episode. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe to the show, click that notifications bell if you're on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you find podcasts. Give us those likes, give us a subscribe. We will certainly appreciate it. Check out the entire show archive at skullrockpodcast.com. We're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you can find us. Subscribe to our feed on Facebook as well as X and LinkedIn. Dave and I are both on there. Instagram, a great place to check us out as well. You can also email Dave or Aljon, ALJON, at skullrockpodcast.com and send us that feedback. We would certainly love it. You can even leave us comments on our YouTube page or Facebook page, or you can send us, believe it or not, we'd have a smartphone app, so when you're on the podcast listening to whatever favorite player you have, just click the link in the show notes and it'll just open up a new thing in your smartphone, and you can leave us a voicemail message and we can play your voice asking us questions or comments on an upcoming episode. Please take advantage of it. It's fun.
I hope somebody does that.
We did one. We've only done one or maybe 2 over the course of this show, but it's available for people. All right,
come on, people, come out of the shadows.
That's right.
Don't be bashful.
Come out from parts unknown. Yes, and you can definitely check me out on Instagram, AlJohnGo, ALJONGO. Check out my other podcast, Dining at Disney. We've got shows that come out every single week. We talk about the theme parks as well as our favorite Disney food. That's Dining at Disney. And a shout out to our friends at Sorcerer Radio at srsounds.com. All Disney music all day long. Dave?
Yeah, and you can hear me on Sirius XM on Disney Hits channel 133 on my Tunes Behind the Tunes show. April, we're featuring Almost There from Disney's 2009 hit The Princess and the Frog. And by the way, Aljon, I'm going back into the Sirius XM studios in Hollywood this week to record more shows.
Awesome.
So I'm having fun with that. You can get any if you're interested in any of my books, you want to get signed copies, go to theoldmillpress.com, including my latest book, Find Your Happy Place, the 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat. You can also find information and some of my essays at davidbossert.com. And with that, Aljon, I'm going to say go out and have a fantastic week. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you back here next Monday, right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.